Just as a reminder, cars can be very damaging to guitars as well. Another thing that I see that damages your guitar quite a lot is the humble stand. And, you know, these things are cheap. They're everywhere. I think this was like $12, and this one I think used to be a coat hanger, and this one came to me. But every time I see one of these stands and somebody uses them improperly, they just really do a lot of damage to the guitars. If you have kids, pets, friends come over, all of these still leave your guitar susceptible to something going on. And even if you do live alone, you never know. I actually had a client where a chunk of his ceiling fell off, you know, because it's old plaster and lath and improper humidity control and all that. His chunk of his ceiling fell off and fell on his guitar. In short, these are a really good way, you know, to have this happen to your guitar. If you insist on keeping it out, make sure that your stand, well, in this case it's a side open, but a lot of the newer ones that are fancy have a little bit that comes across here. You can put it in and stretch it across, if you must. But then you run into the next big killer, which is humidity control. Now, as a reminder, I keep my shop at 50% relative humidity all year round. I've got enough guitars here that it was worthwhile for me to do this. In your own home, maybe not. And beyond that, I actually maintain a strong level of humidity control inside of my individual cases by using these 49% packs. And every single one of my cases has this in it. So we've got microclimates in our highly controlled climate. Now, I know these guys don't want me to say this because it's not in their best interest. But if you keep your place at 50%, like I do, these things can last for years. So, if you have to put yours into a case like this, make sure that you've got one of these and you've got some archival glass, so that way you are not getting blasted with UV light, because that will fade your guitar faster than you'd ever imagine. So, another thing that I see rather commonly is somebody take their guitar and just put it into their case and then close the lid gently. And I never understood this, and I know that there's a lot of you who are having heart attacks out here because I haven't latched the case. But, you know, I see a lot of people taking guitars and putting them into random cases, as I have done, like this, and just using that as their regular case, which is fine, you know, if it fits and it doesn't bounce around too much, that's generally pretty okay. But the thing that scares me a lot, and I get a lot of repairs from this, is when they get a case like this and they don't latch it before they pick it up. So, you know, as they're sitting there talking, maybe they walk away, and, you know, oftentimes if you have your own guitar and you do this, you remember that you didn't latch your case, so you latch it before you pick it up. But if you're in a social setting and you're used to not doing this and somebody goes to move your case, I mean, that right there, if you're at a party, that's one of the loudest sounds in the room. So, whenever you do actually put your guitar into the case, make sure that you put it in and that you latch at least one latch on it, so that way, whatever happens, you've got at least one point of contact. And speaking about cases, the other one that I see all the time is the soft case. Those, I get more repairs from that than I do even from this, which is quite a lot. So let's take a look at the soft case next. And I mean, the soft case, I mean, this is almost as bad. And you know, yes, the guitar can slip out the bottom because some people put the zippers together, but I can't tell you how many times I've seen a touring musician take their guitar case and sling it over their shoulder and then go to pick up an amp. You know, this happens all the time. So, well, if you had it in a hard case and it did take the fall, at least the case is taking the brunt of it. You know, fortunately, some of these are pretty padded, but this also leads to that whole humidity issue. The more humidity that you can keep in your guitar, the better off it is. And, you know, these straps are known to break, and even if you are really good about it and you only have it on and the straps suddenly break, you can't do much about it. There's very little padding on most of these. And yes, I know that there are some out there that are case quality, but still, you know, even if something falls on it, like an anvil, you thought I was going to drop an anvil on this, didn't you? Anyways, if an anvil or, you know, I mean, I guess we're not in the Looney Tunes here, but if something falls onto this case, and, you know, it could be something as simple as, I don't know, knocking over a music stand, or maybe somebody's accidentally tripping and bumping and standing on it, or something like that. This provides next to no protection. I see a lot of repairs from these just because they break or they slip off of your shoulder, and that's not good for your guitar either. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a very expensive hard shell case, but just something that's harder than this will protect you all the time. And by the way, if you're a touring and gigging musician, you know how much stuff you're putting into your car. And that car has stuff that moves around inside of it. So if your amp falls on that, you're almost done. So that would not be a good gig. So don't do this. And one of the ones that I see all the time, far more than you'd ever want to imagine, is, and this I know tends to be a little bit more gigging musician style, but how many of you guys have put your guitar on a chair like this? You know, you sit down, you're playing, you finish your set, and you want to go talk to somebody, and you go around and you start talking to, in my case, I'll talk to Segovia. How you doing, Maestro? Have you enjoyed my father's 2 guitars? Good. Oh, yeah, that's right. They were better than the Hauser. I agree. And then you turn around and you start to talk to somebody else because somebody wanted to know what was next in the set list. This doesn't do too well for the remainder of your gig. And this can even go for a tabletop. You know, if you set it on a tabletop, again, anything can fall on it. So don't do this. I've handled probably close to 15,000 or more guitars. And the way that you store your guitar can cause some serious damage to it. You know, and if you're doing anything that puts your guitar at risk, that makes me hurt because I don't want your guitar to get damaged. You know, we've already talked about humidity in the past. Humidity is one of those things that takes out a lot of guitars. But I do get a lot of guitars that come in from people where they're, you know, using some stands or whatever. And you know, I always say, look at what I do and don't. And anytime that you're in my shop, you're going to see stuff leaning up against a table, sitting out on a workbench, maybe with the case left open, sitting out in a container, or, you know, even if I'm hanging it on a wall, that's just not a good way to hold up your guitar. Instead of having this happen to your guitar because you wanted to hang it on a wall, and I mean, this one didn't crack from humidity, but that's because I keep my humidity controlled here. Instead, please don't put it onto the wall. The wall is a terrible place. You know, I can't tell you how many things I've seen fly towards my walls, but that's it, I've got kids. So instead of having this happen, put it into your guitar case. In reality, the best place for your guitar, if you're not playing it, well, the best place for your guitar is in your hands, but the second best place for it is in its case latched. So don't do this. Thanks for watching. This video has been a little bit sillier. I've been feeling a little bit like I've been overwhelmed and a little too serious, so I wanted to have some fun, and this guitar was a goner anyways. Don't treat your guitars like this, and if you want any advice, feel free to call me or comment down below. Thanks for watching. This has been a lot more fun to shoot than I thought that it would. And, well, you know, with that said, like, subscribe, Patreon, and thanks for watching. And why won't you die? Not again.